Hello everyone, Miss Gretchen with Rubies and Moonstones. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before you get thrown off by the box, this is not an unboxing. This is going to be a start to finish completing of a diamond painting and post-review video. If you're new to my channel, I hope that you would like it here and consider subscribing for more diamond painting content. And if you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for continuing to support me and my channel. I wouldn't be here without you, so thank you so very much. So I got a little bit ahead of myself before remembering to film this part of my start to finish series, but I just want to show you the diamond painting that I'm going to be working on. So it is from Diamond Art Club. It is a square drilled canvas, as we can see by the box, and it is Harvest Rich by Riikka Sofia Riekkinen. And I really hope that I said her name correctly. I apologize if I did not. So super excited about this. Let's go ahead and take a look at the canvas. All right, so as you may be already able to see, I've already started on this one. So this isn't a totally blank canvas, as I have started on this little square up here, which I'll probably show you a little bit more here in a second, but just to show you the overall beauty of this piece. I don't know, this witch just called to me, and her magic with her little cat down here and the cauldron there, as well as all of the magical pumpkins, the candle. I just love all of the magicness of this diamond painting. So this is a 25.6 by 33.9 inch diamond painting, or 65 by 86 centimeters. So it's a decent sized diamond painting, but I am so excited to do it, and I think it is going to be a really fun, festive diamond painting to have out during the holiday season. If I don't put it up in my home, I can always put it up in one of my schools and swap them out as the years go by. So this diamond painting has 78 colors. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was really drawn to it, because I really wanted to do something that had a lot of colors. As I was kitting up, I realized that although there are 78 colors, it seems like quite a few of them probably only have like 10 drills on the entire canvas. So I did kit up into my Elizabeth Ward storage containers, and I just had to go with what containers I happen to have lying around. So I did not have very many extra small or small containers left. So this isn't a very good representation of how many drills that I have, but let me show you an example. I know that 815, there are hardly any diamonds in there. Look at that. So that is 815. So since they give you extra, like 20% extra, maybe there's 15 diamonds that are going to be laid down on this canvas. And same thing with 814. There are not very many of this one either. So a lot of colors, but there were quite a few of them like that, where there were hardly any colors at all. But then of course we have some of these larger colors like 3371, where there's going to be a lot of that. And of course we're going to have a lot of black as well, although this large container is only half full. So I have noticed, of course, I am already having some issues with those typical culprits: 310, 3371, 939, those dark black, browns, blues, even this dark purple number 154 I am having issues with. But I feel like that is just kind of part of the problem when you're working with dark colors and you want to work with squares. Getting perfect squares, you're going to get some that are not perfect, and you're going to need to pull them out until you can get them as straight as possible so that they will lay well together. Okay, so 78 colors, and there are 3 ABs and 3 fairy dust. So let me just show you those really quick. We have number 111. So this very pink magenta-like AB. Not a whole lot of that one either. Then we have number 131, that very orange AB. And of course the 141, our white AB. A decent amount, but not a lot of that one either. For our fairy dust, we have Z156, and there is a decent amount of that. Such a pretty light purple color. And then we have Z743, which is a very yellow fairy dust color. That one is going to be quite fun. And then we have Z775, which seems to be kind of a greenish gray color, if you can see underneath that dryer sheet that I have in there. So those are going to be fun, and I will point those out as I go along and do my check-ins with you. I have marked the bottoms of my containers if they happen to have a matching fairy dust in case I want to use it. But I have a feeling on this one I'm not going to add a whole lot of extra fairy dust, but we shall see. But not a lot going on within herself or within the cat or the cauldron or anything like that. It seems like the pumpkins definitely have a lot going on, but some of those other areas, like the magic coming off of her wand, her hat up here, maybe her hair, and the buttons going down her dress. Those might be some areas, I guess, that maybe I will enhance, as well as this leafy area. I don't know. We'll see what happens as I go along. But like I said, I did get started just a little bit. As you can see up here in this top corner, I'm folding down this section and then also getting this part of the curved arch as I go along, so I can just get all of the same colors in, and of course get that entire pumpkin and then go across. I'm thinking what I probably will also do is I will continue going across, but leave her hat alone and then fill in the background, and then come back in this area, getting the background and getting the background over here, and then coming back in and getting her entire hat and face at the same time. I like to do that. It's just a bit of fun for me. It makes my diamond painting a little bit more fun to leave some of those really important pieces. Obviously her face is the main spotlight on this diamond painting, and so I like to complete that entire area at once. So anyway, this is a very long intro into completing Harvest Witch, but in addition to introducing you to the diamond painting that I am going to be working on next, it is also kind of like a first check-in since I have started working on it. And at this point, I want to get back to work. I was so excited to start working, I forgot to do an entry video. So here's the entry video, and now I'm going to get back to work. So I will check in with you guys in a little bit. I am so excited to show you this. I know that I mentioned this earlier, that I thought I would leave her hat and face to do later, and so I did that. And I filled in the top and the sides, which looks great. And I love all of the detail that comes out. Look at this like cat over here. I had no idea. That was something that I didn't even see in the picture. Especially like the sides are so dark in the picture that all of these details, I didn't notice them. Love it. Anyway, so I ended up going a lot further, as you may see. In order to show you further down, I'm going to have to slide this canvas up, but how my camera is, I'm going to have to move it, so I'll just cut to that so you don't have to deal with the shaky camera. Okay, so I came all the way down here. This is, you know, the line here, and I did not do the pumpkin, but I did do the pumpkin stem. So I did all of this background. I they had a bunch of fairy dust in here anyway. Forgot to point all of that out, which this is such a magic-y area that's coming off of her wand. And so if I had a matching color, I added fairy dust into the swirl. Unfortunately, I didn't have very much fairy dust that matched, but you can kind of see this shinier area here as well as up there. That's something that I added, but this fairy dust there, here, and down here was already charted in. I really wish I had fairy dust for that yellow and purple color, but I just didn't. So now I have her entire bodice and arms that I can do all at once too. And so that is going to be really fun. So I'm going to do all of her sleeves down here so that I can do both arms at the same time, fill in the rest of this background, and then do her entire bodice at the same time that I do her hat. And then that doesn't leave very much to finish. So then we will just have all of the items on the table and the cat and the cauldron and things like that to do to finish it off. So that will be a really fun section to do. I'll save her dress to do later. I think that is just going to be her hands and things like that that I will do now. And then I'll come back in and do this pumpkin and all of this for the final section. So I'll try and come back in to show you once I have her completed, and then the final check-in, that'll be the whole post review, will have this whole part done. So that will be the current plan, but I am just loving how this is coming together. Pointing out fairy dust and ABs just a little bit. This is the charted fairy dust here, and there's some charted ABs in here as well. But I did have a lot of matching colors for the magic swirl on this side, so I did put in fairy dust for all of these darker colors that come up around in that swirl. And then you can see I did her wand, and I had some mostly fairy dust that I could use for this as well. This orange on the outside, I didn't have that color that's outlining it, but everything else pretty much inside and down in this part is fairy dust that I added. The fairy dust and ABs in the pumpkins, I just left those as charted. Every once in a while there is a sprinkle of fairy dust. There's just little dots in places. Some are ABs, some are charted fairy dust, some are fairy dust that I have added in. I added in this orange color. And then up here at the top, we have white ABs, dotted in. Again, the same fairy dust and orange AB in that pumpkin. And I added fairy dust outlining this little magic bubble, basically. That's what it looks like to me anyways, or these are kind of magic bubbles popping off. So I added fairy dust surrounding that one as well. And then to match, I have some fairy dust surrounding this little square over here too. So I just love all of the greenery over here. There's greenery back here too. This is a bunch of white ABs, and then there is fairy dust in the background all over the place. So it's really, really fun. I'm excited to get her done, and it's just so festive. So I am really enjoying putting this one together. I got a lot of work done yesterday, so yeah, I am excited. All right, well, that is going to be my check-in. I will see you again when she has been completed. I am so excited to see her. All right. Oh my gosh, I got her done, and I just love her. This is like the first time that I've actually pulled it down to even look at the entire completion, and so I'm even more stunned. So let me show you what I did. First, here is a continuation of this magic-y line. And so on the edges, I had a fairy dust that I could add in. And so I did that. This isn't an exact match here in the middle, but I found a very similar fairy dust that I could add in so that it sparkled a little bit more and stood out from her actual hat a little bit more. I just wish I had more fairy dust to put into this section, but there is already some fairy dust in here. So the magic extends over this way, so I did add some fairy dust into the tip of her hat just to highlight that area too. And of course, this flower, I put in as much fairy dust as I had a match for. I really wish I had a match for this really light color, but I just couldn't find one that was good enough. So I might replace it because it seems to stand out to me. But there's a few different colors in here that are not fairy dust, but I do have a lot that's brown, these greens, and these browns and oranges are all fairy dust going all the way around. And then, of course, you can see here in the middle this blue stone. At least I think it looks like a stone. So I added in some of those blue crystals that I had gotten for my Dragon Brigade enhancements. And I added in matching blue crystals here. And then there is fairy dust that was naturally charted in the center of that. So love that. I love her face and her hair and how that came together. And so I'm going to move her down so I can show you a bit more. Sorry, I have to cut that because I shake the camera whenever I move. You can see in here her neckline. When you look at the picture of her, all of this is very gold. Even this part kind of seems gold-like, but I did place in some more enhancements from Dragon Brigade, and I put just gold in doing the edges of her neckline, which I'm not 100% positive of, but I do think that I like it. And then of course gold doing the necklace going down, and then again more crystals from Dragon Brigade that I put into the gemstone of her necklace, which I think looks awesome. It actually had fairy dust to be charted around it, but I had this really light yellow crystal as well, and I thought that it looks really nice to enhance it that way. I may switch it out and add back in that fairy dust, but we'll see. I like how it looks on the camera, so we'll have to see what I think when I actually am done and can look at the entire thing, and then I'll decide. There are some pink ABs charted into the edge of her cape, and then we have a lot of fairy dust in the background that is naturally charted. And I probably already talked about that though, so I'm going to move down a little bit more. And that way now you can see the end to where I have gotten. And then for the holes in her corset, that's what these are, not buttons, I put in this crystal. I love this crystal. It's from DP with Sparklers, and it's number 3776. And it is just a really pretty, it gives a gold effect without being actually gold. And then I tried to be really careful when I was completing the skin tones in her face, as well as her arms with my placement. But you will not believe what I did. I mean, it happens to everybody, but I pulled out two colors that I needed to put in her arms. And I pour one in a tray and I start placing it. And I'm placing it, there's a little bit of it here, there's some over here, of course a bunch in this arm and a bunch in that arm, all of the same symbol. And I get to the bottom of the tray and I'm just like, man, I'm not going to have enough of this to finish the diamond painting. And then I finally look and I'm putting the wrong color on the wrong symbol the entire time. So then I have to take the time to go back and pick it off because it was significantly different. It was this very light color on the edge that I was laying down everywhere, and it needed to be this darker color here that's in the middle and on like this edge of things. And the toning would have just been completely off had I not changed it. So I did. We have a bit of her belt done, which I love. And I love her sleeves here, how they just, I don't know what you call that, but you know, how it drops down. I just love that about these caped sleeves, basically. That's what I want to call it. I don't think that's technically right. And there is a bit of fairy dust charted in the very edge of this one. There's none over here, but there will be fairy dust in this area as I complete it. So now I'm going to just come in and finish everything. And so I think it's just easiest for me to block this off and work right to left and fill in these missing places in her sleeve and up here, and then finish this pumpkin. And then we have that much to go and we'll be done, and it is October 19th. So I believe I should have this one completed before Halloween, which will be fabulous. All right, there she is. I hope that you love her as much as I do, and I will check in with you when I am completely done. And there we go. Now Harvest Witch by Riikka Sofia Riekkinen is done. This one was so much fun. I love this one, and when I was looking back, I bought it practically a year ago and finally have gotten around to doing this one because of course I wanted to wait for the holiday season, and I just fell in love with it all over again like I did when I purchased it. So I am just so ecstatic. I love this one, and I am so excited to be able to hang it up and display it next Halloween and have more diamond paintings to switch out for the holidays. So, okay, when I finished the last section with you, I had just finished doing her body, but I hadn't done any of this bottom section. So I'm going to try and go over the bottom section with you and let you know what is naturally charted, ABs, and fairy dust, and then what was stuff that I added in. But oh my goodness, I just love this little cat. He is just so cute. Well, here I did add in some fairy dust into the candles, I believe. In all honesty, it has been a while since I actually completed this before I've gotten around to finally recording this section. So I could be forgetting something. But there is fairy dust here within the candle and also within the flame of the candles as well. There's also some of the orange AB going around the candles to highlight them. There's a little bit of orange AB over here, and of course we have some orange ABs and fairy dust also within the pumpkin. And I think that that's naturally charted. Now here is a little section that is supposed to just kind of be like a magic-y glisten in my opinion. So I did add fairy dust in there, but there is a couple of naturally charted ABs. But this very light color is a fairy dust that I did add. And then all of the pumpkins have very similar, they all have like orange fairy dust in, or excuse me, orange ABs within their glowing areas. So there's lots of orange ABs in there, but I didn't add a lot of other enhancements into them because there is so much of the orange AB and or maybe a little bit of fairy dust in those areas. Now here are these little dots, and they're going to notice throughout the entire painting there are just these little magic-y dots. And so I went and added in fairy dust into the ones that I maybe didn't do before higher up on the painting. And then down here I finally found some matchers. So this one actually looks like an AB in these few sections. Now, most of these down here actually look like that orange AB, but then when we come over here, now this is going to be a fairy dust. That's a fairy dust up there, for example, and things like that. And then the cat. I love the cat. I didn't do a lot of extra to the cat. There is a little bit of fairy dust in these little spots. And then I did put some green fairy dust in the middle of its bow. And there is the natural fairy dust in the eye. But other than that, that is pretty much all that was actually charted in the cat. I just added some extra fairy dust into the bow. When looking at her belt and the leaves, the herbs and things coming off of them, I didn't add anything extra in there either, although that would have been a really good place to do so. However, I did add in some extra little fairy dust into those magic-y pieces, as I mentioned a little while ago. Okay, so now focusing on the cauldron and the smoke coming off of it. So within the cauldron itself, again, there were a lot of these naturally charted orange ABs, and there was some of the fairy dust that was naturally charted in here as well. But then I added as much fairy dust as I could that was either a perfect match or a really good match. So here is some extra fairy dust in this lighter orange area coming up off of it, as well as here. Sometimes it's pixie dust because it's from a place called DP with Sparklers, but otherwise it's fairy dust from some of the other kits that I have saved up. And then as this like smoke magic-ness comes off of the cauldron and it kind of floats around the entire canvas and through her wand and things like that, I did try to add in as much fairy dust as I could. So here is some more fairy dust kind of coming off of that smoke. There is a little bit of fairy dust in this area as well. And then in these little magic-y spots, I added fairy dust, and this is fairy dust. All of those spots, I really tried to add as much fairy dust as I could. And then looking at the cauldron itself, I put in some brown fairy dust, especially in this area, just to kind of highlight it a little bit. And I really like how that turned out, and then made sure that these magic-y areas had fairy dust or ABs in them. Some of them were naturally charted ABs. And then here we have those pumpkins again, where we have a lot of the naturally charted fairy dust or ABs, and we have some ABs coming up over the side of the stem on this one as well. Here we also have naturally charted fairy dust and ABs. And then here we have a magic bottle, and I thought about trying to do, sorry, I see a hair right there. Probably gonna have to get my tweezers to get that off. Anyway, I thought about adding in something into the bottle, but I didn't. Here though, on these candles, I did add some extras into it. So we have some naturally charted white ABs in the center of the flames, and then some of the natural fairy dust, that very, very pale yellow, is also surrounding the flames, but then I added in this orange fairy dust and then this darker orangish red fairy dust going around the rest of the flame, and I did that over here as well. This one also has some of the naturally charted AB in it too. And then down in the actual candle itself, there is a little bit of the naturally charted white ABs and a little bit of the natural yellow fairy dust and orange ABs as well. And I guess that's all that I did, was pretty much just leaving that as it is as well. And then I had part of this area finished the last time and part of it was not. And so some of this is the naturally charted yellow fairy dust and orange ABs, but then this is an extra fairy dust or pixie dust from DP with Sparklers that I added in to just highlight this glow a little bit more as it then moves up into this magical swoop through the rest of the diamond painting, where I also tried to add as much fairy dust as I could, which you can see a lot of in this area. So yeah, that is the bottom portion that I completed since my last check-in with you. As I'm looking at it, I see I really need to go back over with a rolling pin or just a really a normal pen and kind of push back in some of these drills that are popping out. I'm sure that that is user error and not anything to do with the actual canvas. I just always need to do that at the end, and I have had it hanging on my wall for a while now before I actually brought it down to film the final section with you. Sorry for the delay, and therefore my brain doesn't remember everything, but life happens and it is what it is. So let me get this centered a little bit more so you can see her beautifulness. And I just really love her hat. So there, okay, I'm gonna leave her centered there so that as I am talking and going through the statistics, you can see her. But I am also going to start to insert some B-roll going over the entire canvas very close up so that you can see everything in a lot more detail as I go through the rest of the statistics with you and going over kind of just the final information. So as you are reviewing that, let me tell you a little bit about how long this took and some reminders about the piece and things like that. So as I mentioned earlier, this one is called Harvest Witch by Riikka Sofia Riekkinen and Diamond Art Club, and it is 25.6 by 33.9 inches or 65 by 66 centimeters. There were 78 colors that came with this kit, including 6 special drills, which is 3 ABs and 3 fairy dust. And then of course I added in all of that extra fairy dust throughout as well. So I started this one on October 6th and I finished it on October 23rd. So I spent 18 days working on this diamond painting. And overall, I spent 72 hours and 1 minute to complete this diamond painting. Now, there may be some, I may have left some time out or added some extra time. I'm not always perfect on tracking my time, but that's what it came out to. I liked how it just had the extra 1 minute over 72 hours on there. And there are actually 90,045 square diamonds on this entire canvas. So not quite 100,000 diamonds, but still quite a few diamonds to complete this canvas. So that is Harvest Witch. I loved it. This was a really fun one to do for the holidays, and I am going to have so much fun bringing it back out. I'm happy with the extra enhancements that I did, especially these extra like crystals that I put in her hat, as well as the buttons in her corset, or the holes in her corset. And I just love the rendering of her face. I just think she looks absolutely beautiful. You know, especially, obviously you're supposed to look at these things from a distance. And when I do that, like I'm looking at her from an angle right now, she is gorgeous. I love this piece. So there was a lot of trash. I didn't talk about the trash. There was a lot of significant trash. I mean, squares that had little blobs coming out of each and every side and corner. It was ridiculous. But there are a lot of dark colors. And when you have dark colors, you're going to have bad square drills. Unfortunately, this one had a lot more than I anticipated. And there were actually a couple of colors that I almost completely ran out of due to having to pick out all of those bad drills. But I did not run out of them. So that's what's important with all of the extras that Diamond Art Club gives you. Even though a lot of them are bad drills or trash drills, I still did have enough to complete them, barely in some cases, but I did. But even some of the lighter colors were surprisingly bad. I actually had 2 large Elizabeth Ward style jars filled up with bad drills. I've since dekitted, so I can't show them to you. I could actually have put those all in one of those extra large Elizabeth Ward containers and it would be filled to the brim. That is how much bad drills there were in this diamond painting. And that could help explain why I have so many popping drills right now, because if they're not, those squares aren't flush next to each other, and I picked and picked and picked through my drills to try and get rid of as much trash as I possibly could, but eventually got to the point where it was like, well, I guess that's going to be good enough because I can't spend all day just picking through trying to make a perfect line. I don't have enough diamonds for that. Then once I lay those down, they're not going to be flush up against each other. They're going to start pushing each other out of the way. That's one of the downsides of finally doing that, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like we can ever get perfectly square dark drills, especially, and some even in those lighter colors we're just always going to have some trash, and sometimes it's just going to be more than others. To me, that's probably the most frustrating part of diamond painting, but you know what, the work and the frustration of that part makes the rest of it and all of the zen, relaxing, wonderful happiness that diamond painting brings me worth it in the long run. So, but there are so many cool details on the outside edges within that really dark area that I didn't even see when I originally looked at this image on Diamond Art Club's website or app. That really popped out once I started putting it together, and that made it extra fun as well. So, okay, I have gone on long enough about Harvest Witch. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a like, as that really does help my channel, and it also just brings me happiness when I see how many people have liked my video. So if you could please give it a like, I would greatly appreciate it. If you have not yet subscribed yet, I would love to have you subscribe and be a part of my channel. So please do so. But you also may want to click the notification bell, as my uploads can be pretty sporadic depending on the time of year. So with the notification bell, you can be notified when I do happen to make a future upload. And then if you ever have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, anything at all, please leave them in the comment section below. I always love hearing from you guys, and I try and respond within a timely manner. So that is going to be it. I sure hope that you enjoyed this video and watching Harvest Witch come together. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you all have a wonderful, marvelous, fabulous day. Bye-bye.